Welcome to another episode of Agent versus Lender. And today we have me. We aren't going to have another agent on with us today because I have been getting a lot of phone calls lately about how to buy a home with little or no down payment. And so let's just discuss that today. But before we start that, I do want to talk to you about the qualifying process for each of these programs. So some of these programs, such as government grants, so we'll get into those in just a minute, but some of the government grants or some of the state bond programs, they will have a set of requirements to qualify for those government assistance programs. But then there's another set of requirements to qualify for the loan. So you have to qualify for both the government assistance and you have to qualify for the loan financing. So let's say you have a credit score of I don't know, a 520 credit score. So your credit, there's some work to do on your credit. Though you may the bond program, or not the bond program, but the down payment assistance or the government grant programs may not have a criteria of a minimum credit score, the financing will. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about these. There may be some income limits. You may not make enough money for the qualifying of the loan, but you also can't make too much money to qualify for the grant. So but there's other programs. I mean, there's some of the bond programs you can make over $100,000, and there's some of the other programs that don't have those limitations. So just keep in mind that there may be some limitations on some of these programs. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you have questions, just call me and we can go over some of that criteria. So first of all, since we mentioned government grants, let's talk about those. So government grants have there are many government grants, and they can vary from state to state. They can vary from county to county and even city to city. So when we're talking, you can't just say, hey, what grant can I get? Because most of the time it's going to be dependent on where you are buying your home. So I'm in Utah, even though my company can help you in other states. I'm going to talk about Utah specifically because that's where I'm at. So if we are in Ogden, Utah, those grants may be different than you'll have in Layton. They're a different county, as well as Salt Lake, or in Provo, or in St. George, or over in Logan. So there are different programs depending on where you are buying. So, and I've seen those grant programs have assistance programs from $1,500 all the way up to $20,000. So they can be pretty significant. So don't overlook those at all. It's for sure, don't overlook those. It can really help you make a difference whether you're going to get into a home or not. So unfortunately, I can't go into all of those government grant programs because there are so many of them. But just know that they are there, and there's a lot of them. And some of them you may qualify for, and some of them you may not qualify for. And some of them, and some of the more populous areas may have a few more options than something that's more rural. So if you have questions about those government grants, give me a call, and we can definitely help you go over some of those options. All right, so another one. So we just mentioned rural. Let's some rural areas. Let's talk about that one. So there's a program called USDA. And yes, it's the same USDA that stamps the meat, USDA. So although completely different departments, there is still a USDA program. So you have to live in what the government has deemed a rural area. And there's no money down required at all, like zero. And we're going to get into closing costs here at the end of this. Because we have to also consider closing costs. So we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Now that USDA program, even though it has to be something that's rural, the maps were drawn like 12 or 13 years ago. So some of the areas that may be more populous now may still be considered rural in the maps that they draw for the USDA program. So, I'm in Utah, so we're going to talk about that real quick. So something like Brigham City, Payson, Utah, Eagle Mountain, some of those areas that really are kind of more populous now are still considered USDA and still considered rural. So you can use this program, which by the way is a fantastic program because the mortgage insurance is also far less than some of the other programs. So it helps keep your payment down, and the interest rates are amazing. So it's one of my favorite programs. If we can, if you qualify for that area, it's an amazing program, and we love that one. So give me a call if well, give me a call on any of these. Okay, so the next one that's literally no money down required is if you're a veteran, or if you are in the military, or if your spouse has been in the military or has passed away, and you would have military benefits for the VA financing program. So there's some criteria that goes along with that, and I just named some of it. Basically, you have to have been in the military, or the National Guard, or any of the branches of the military. So the National Guard requires a little bit longer requirement to be in the National Guard than if you were on active duty. But if you were called into active duty while you're on the National Guard, then actually the requirement's much less as well. So the VA is an awesome, and there's no monthly mortgage insurance on the VA. So probably one of my favorite programs out of all of them. All right, so I mentioned state bond programs a minute ago. So let's go to that one. So there are different state bond programs. Most of the states have them, and the way many of them require no money down is they will use a program such as an FHA or a conventional program that requires 3 to 3.5% down, but they finance that down payment and even some of the closing costs on a small second loan. So that's how you get in with no money down, because there's two financing. Don't let the second mortgage thing throw you, because there's only a small amount on a second mortgage, and I know people go, oh, second mortgage, but it's really just all the financing wrapped into all the entire purchase price is just wrapped into financing. So call me about that one. It's really a great program. And don't let somebody scare you about, oh, there's a second mortgage, because it's really not as big of a deal as it sounds. Okay, so there's state bond programs that can help you. Again, now that one has a criteria of, there is some income limits usually, but in Utah, like you can make, on some of them, you can make like 120 grand or maybe a little more. So you can, it's pretty liberal. If you're making a lot of money, then when I say a lot of money, I'm saying like 250,000, or probably 150,000 or more. You may not qualify for that program. Okay, so there's state bond programs, and there's most of the states have them. So whichever state you're in, let us know, and we can talk to you about that program. So another one is gift funds. So if you don't have enough money for a down payment and or your closing costs, you can get gift funds. That means that somebody in your family, that somebody that's related to you, or even an employer, and I've had that happen. An employer has said, hey, we're going to give you some funds because we want you to stay here. We want you to move here. So we're going to gift you some, or give you a bonus, or give you something so that we can help you get into a home. So that works as well. And even if it's not a family member, if we can tie in that they have a vested interest in you, then oftentimes we can use that as gift funds as well. So there's another program. So gift funds is another way to get into a home with no money down. So let's talk about closing costs. So many of these programs are going to pay for your down payment or not going to require a down payment, but a few of them will help with the closing costs. And now, when I talk about closing costs, if you don't know what closing costs are, there's cost to getting a loan. That means that there's an appraisal fee. There's usually an underwriting fee. There's title work that goes that has to be done. And title is just making sure there's no liens or encumbrances on the property, so that we know that you're getting a title to that property free and clear. And then we're going to set up an escrow account. And what that means is we're going to set aside money for you to pay for your property taxes and your homeowner's insurance when they come due. So all that stuff adds up. So we got to figure out how to pay for that. And like I said, some of these programs will help you pay for some of those, but not all of them. And some of them won't even pay for all of them, or just will pay for a portion of them, or none of them. So we have to figure out how that comes. So one is you can have the seller pay closing costs, and which is a great idea. So and there's ways to structure your offer so that the seller is like, oh, I'm not gonna, now I'm taking less for my house, but we can help you with that. So we can show that it's really not quite as bad as that sounds. So the seller's going to win, you're going to win, and then you can get into a home. So that's a real brief, real fast overview of no money down programs. We are like experts. Like this is what I've done. This is what I think a lot of realtors know me for, as some of the no money down programs. And so we are like really good at these. So call us. We can walk you through them. We can give you some options. And I think that's going to do it for today. So appreciate you guys listening. Hey, by the way, if you have a chance, go on to Google, go on to wherever you're listening to this at, whether it's on YouTube or Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this. Go and give us a review on our podcast. We we're going to start reading those on over the air. Maybe we'll start doing that next week. So maybe it'll be you. We'll mention your name. If you don't want us to mention your name, say, hey, don't mention my name. And we won't. So, but anyway, we appreciate the 5-star reviews that we have. And so we want an honest review. And of course, we like the 5-star review. So go do that and subscribe to our channel. And that'll bring an episode of Agent versus Lender to a close this week. And again, call us. My number is 801-628-7667. And now that will bring to close another episode of Agent versus Lender.